It's time for the Left of Lansing Friday Short with Pat Johnston.
Here's the Friday Short for October 4th of 2024. Yet another solid jobs report for the American people, which just goes to show how the Biden-Harris administration helped rebuild an economic boon that is the envy of the world. The U.S. economy added 254,000 jobs in September, and the unemployment rate dropped back down to 4.1%. These numbers exceeded the numbers many economists expected. No surprise there. Wages are 4% higher than they were last year versus inflation at 2.5%, and Kelly Richards from the left-leaning think tank called Groundwork Collaborative told the Washington Post after the release of this report, quote, "The pundits who said we couldn't have low unemployment, growing wages, and stable prices at the same time have been proven wrong." Yeah, I'd say so. And look, the policies that Biden and Harris passed during the pandemic saved and created many jobs while restoring the overall economy and lowering inflation numbers as well. That's right, the Labor Department a few weeks ago also reported that inflation numbers dropped to their lowest levels since February 2021. The report also said that the annual inflation rate is 2.5%, which again means that the level is at its lowest point in 3.5 years. Thanks to the infrastructure bill and the Inflation Reduction Act, both bills, which dear leader Trump and boy wonder J.D. Vance and also MAGA Michigan Republican Senate candidate Florida Mike Rogers all opposed, those bills, including the CHIPS Act, assisted in bringing job growth to the country while lowering inflation. And let's not forget about last week's report that the country's GDP grew at 3% in the second quarter of this year, which again exceeded economists' expectations. Sorry for the alliteration there. Now, for all of us here in Michigan, we're realizing the benefits of these strong economic numbers. The Michigan Center for Data and Analysis said 2023 marked the state's highest payroll job level and lowest unemployment in 20 years. The report also stated Michigan's labor market hit historic levels in 2023 and continued to improve in the first 6 months of 2024. The state's unemployment rate was low for multiple demographic groups, while the number of jobs in labor force continued to expand. Wow. Now, this is a stark improvement here in Michigan, which still has further to go considering that Michigan is tied with West Virginia, Texas, and Arizona for the 10th highest unemployment rate in the country. But just look what happens when we not only have a Democratic administration in the White House and a Democratic Congress, which we did have for the first 2 years of Biden's term, and then when we also had a Democratic governor in Michigan, along with a Democratic majority in the legislature. I mean, it's no secret why things got better economically. And then Michigan Advance reports this important little tidbit. Although data from the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics current population survey found that Black or African American residents saw higher rates of unemployment than white individuals from 2019 to 2024, the gap narrowed considerably in 2023 and has continued to close. In the first half of 2024, the jobless rate for Black residents was 5.5%, a 1.9 percentage gap from the white jobless rate of 3.6%. Hey, I don't know about you, but I think that's pretty good news. No, things aren't perfect. Housing costs are out of control, and Kamala Harris has a real plan to build more housing supply and help people buy their first homes, unlike Trump and Vance, who say that we should just build houses on federally protected land. And like Harris's running mate, Governor Tim Walz, asked J.D. Vance at their Veep debate, "You're going to build houses and drill for oil on the same federal lands?" These are good economic numbers, and Democrats on the federal and state level should get credit for rebuilding a strong economy that dear leader Trump ruined. And let's be honest, the corporate media have not helped either, which explains why voters believe that a lifelong con man and financial loser like dear leader Trump has a better handle on economic issues than Kamala Harris. However, though, she has cut dear leader's lead in half on economic issues ever since Biden dropped out of the race. And by the way, a good chunk of the jobs created were in the restaurant and bar industry, which is stunning because all I heard was how paying those workers higher wages would destroy that industry. And also, construction helped lead the way too, which again is thanks to the infrastructure bill and the Inflation Reduction Act. Kamala Harris is pushing policies that'll help working class Americans by supporting small business growth, supporting unions, supporting families by extending the child tax credit, and pushing for a cleaner economy that'll help create more jobs of the future. I mean, that's a hell of a lot better than dear leader's plan to slap tariffs on everything, which will end up costing all of us dearly. And it's a hell of a lot better than cutting the corporate tax rate when corporations are raking in the cash at enormous rates. Look, when it comes to economic issues, this isn't even close. I mean, these two sides aren't even in the same ballpark. And when it comes to this country's economic history, how many times do we have to learn the harsh lesson of Republicans repeatedly destroying the economy, and then we have to vote Democrats in to come in and clean up the Republican mess? How many times do we have to learn this? leftoflansing@gmail.com is my email, and it's the best way to get a hold of me. Follow me on Twitter, the Gram, and Facebook, and follow Left of Lansing on YouTube. Please subscribe to Left of Lansing on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. Take the battle to them, and go Tigers!